New AR, striker build, and once we run the math, the question becomes whether the weapon talent alone changes everything. Today we're confirming damage values at the range with the new first bloom named AR, and there's a separate talent interaction I had wrong with theory crafting that we're going to address properly. Because if I had it wrong, I imagine there could be others that have it wrong as well. But first I want to take a quick second. We just hit 500 subscribers in 5 videos, and we've got over 10k views on one of our videos. I genuinely appreciate all the support, but more importantly, the feedback I've gotten from you guys. And from what is a still small but growing community, it's been invaluable. And honestly, it's led me to a bit of an epiphany. Being new to content creation, my early videos weren't exactly polished. My audio quality in particular was rough, and I'm working out of a smaller European room with concrete walls, so acoustically it's been a challenge. I've been actively working on improving that, and I'm a lot happier with where we are today. But here's what really hit me. You guys supported the channel at its lowest point. You watched through the rough audio and the awkward deliveries, you still showed up. And what that tells me is that there are people who are generally interested in this kind of content, and to me that's really cool. It's taken a lot of pressure off me, and I feel like I can be a lot more comfortable just being myself. My goal moving forward is simple. I want to keep making the kind of content that I wish I had more of when I was first getting into the Division 2 and pushing deeper into the game. I've had a great time playing it, and I've even had a better time interacting with all of you. And I'm looking forward to continue to grow and improve in both areas. So seriously, thank you. And before I move on, I do want to shout out the viewer who requested the Dark Winter build. I know there's one available at the Countdown vendor right now, so it's super dope timing. I want to spend some more time with it before putting it on screen. I want to tweak the build a little bit more. That's just how I want to do things here. I want to be thorough. And it's been a busy week with the new event drops and playing through some of that content. Anybody else missed the Ronin farm? But I do plan on having that video out this weekend, so it's coming. Now moving into this build, I want to show you guys something. This is an after action report from one of my escalation runs, and if you look here, my teammate is sitting at almost 21,000 shade level. All right, he's got a full prototype striker set, completely maxed out and all that good stuff. I'm at this point shade level 669, and I'm expertise level 18. So I've learned out most of the name of the other agent because I'm not dissing anybody or anything like that. That's not what this is about. This isn't about them. They're clearly an experienced agent. I have nothing but respect. But what I want you guys to take a look at is the gap. All right. So I'm at 2.36 billion damage, essentially, right? You guys know how the damage calc works. It can only show only so big of a number. Okay. My teammate here is sitting at 1.236 billion damage. And this is not a flex. The credit doesn't go to me. The credit goes to the build. And if this is what I'm able to accomplish at a lowly 669 shade level, imagine what you could do with a fully optimized version of this. Now let's talk about why those numbers are possible. So for the talent interaction that I mentioned at the top, when I was theory crafting for this build, I assumed that striker stacks and perfect obliterate were pooling together in the same total weapon damage bucket. I think that's how a decent amount of people probably think about it, as they read the same. But when I ran the actual numbers on a live build, something didn't add up. So the question to me became simple. Do the striker stacks and the perfect obliterate add together in one total weapon damage bucket? Or do they still sit in their own separate multiplicative brackets, right? If they're additive, based on the math, we expect 517k on a body crit. If they're multiplicative, we expect 569.6k on that body crit. So now let's head to the range. As you can see, we're hitting for 569,618. Our multiplicative prediction was 569,605, which gives us a delta of 13 damage, which is less than a percentage point. And again, that's going to be due to rounding across multiple calculation brackets. So I want to be upfront. This means that some of the specific numbers from the Ninja Bike video need to be revisited. The conclusions still hold up, as that was more of a build theory and almost build ethics video. But the specific numbers that we cited were off because I did have this interaction wrong. And to be fair, I did have that pointed out to me at the time. But again, at the time, I was going more for a narrative and theory sort of video. So I didn't have a specific build that I was speccing out to run the numbers on. So I'll be pinning a corrected graphic for that. And I appreciate that viewer for, pointing that out to me. And I wanted to let it be known that he was correct. But like for a lot of things in this game, you see conflicting information, which is why I prefer to test things myself. So this build gave me that opportunity to do so. And that's the standard that I want to hold myself to on this channel. Now, knowing this changes the chess piece decision in a very specific way. Now that we know Obliterate is in its own separate bracket, the question becomes, when does the striker chest actually beat it? With the risk management backpack, you're capped at 100 stacks. 100 stacks at 0.9% each gives you a striker multiplier of 1.90. Multiply that by the perfect obliterate at 1.24 and you get a total of 2.356x total damage. The striker chest allows you to push past 100 stacks to 200. So we solve for the crossover at this point, and it lands, as you can see on the graphic, exactly at 151 stacks. At 150 stacks, the striker chest is at 2.350x, so it's just barely losing. So the second we cross over and hit 151 stack, it crosses over to 2.359x and it wins. So at 200 stacks, it's at an ungodly, unwieldy 2.80x, so it's not close. But here's the actual takeaway. If you're consistently living above 151 stacks, the striker chest piece is going to win. If you're regularly sitting below that number, Equalizer with a perfect obliterate is the better chest. And in content where you're dying or getting stuck in cover regularly, or even the opposite, where you're killing way too quick to actually stack up to 200, that crossover point becomes a lot more relevant. So now let's go ahead and build the full damage picture from the weapon card up. Cold, no buffs, no ramp. The weapon card reads 167,034. That number already has everything additive baked into it. So your AR damage roll, your UA 2-piece, your Shade Watch expertise, all that good stuff, it's already baked in. Now we're gonna ramp up. So at 100 striker stacks and 24 perfect obliterate stacks against armor, because if you take a look at our AR, I guess we'll spoil the AR, right? So I have a damage to health because that comes standard on the assault rifle, and the third rollable attribute that I got was damage against armor. I can't re-roll it, it's maxed out, so we're just gonna keep it here. Against armor targets, we have our adjusted base damage, right? So our flat damage, we're gonna multiply it by 1.09 for our damage to armor. Then we're gonna go again 1.652 for our crit. Then we're gonna go again 1.9 for striker. And then we're gonna multiply it again for 1.24 for obliterate. So we're gonna predict 708,662 to be our body shot crit damage. So as you can see on screen in the range, we're hitting for 708,625. We call it 26. That's a delta of 1 damage. We are dead on balls accurate. So now let's go ahead and show against the health pool. If you look, we ramp up. We actually go up to 819,144. And that's because our damage to health is at 26%. That replaces our damage to armor. So take a look at our formula. We predicted 819,145. So that's going to be a delta of 1 damage. 2 brackets, 2 confirmed numbers. As Marissa Tomei may say, the great, we're dead on balls accurate. All right. Now, our keen observers might say, hey, where is the 33% amplified damage? So on paper and in practice, it's a pretty significant multiplier that would push these numbers dramatically higher. But I've got to be honest, at the firing range, it doesn't appear to interact with it at all. The numbers match our formula perfectly at base level without this buff, which tells us that the range dummy doesn't have a valid health pool or armor pool or whatever it is for the talent to read. It's not interacting with it at all. So I can't really confirm that number from range testing, but what I can do is show you what it looks like in content, and more importantly, what the talent is actually doing or supposed to do mechanically. So here's how the first bloom works. For every 10% of health and armor the enemy has remaining, you get 3.3% amplified damage. So at full health, shot 1 with no ramp, you're getting the full plus 33% amplified. All right, that's your ceiling and it's immediate. But here's what makes that talent interesting. It's not a ramp. It's actually the opposite. You call it a slope, right? It's the opposite of a ramp. So as you continue to do the damage, the enemy's health and armor pool decreases, so your amplified damage decreases with it. So you're starting at 33% and you work your way down as they take damage. So in comparison to the Overdogs weakest link, which is also amplified damage at plus 30%, but it's essentially on or off, right? You're either hitting the correct target and getting the full 30%, or you're not and you're getting nothing. First bloom at approximately 33% versus Overdogs at the 30%. On paper, first bloom has the edge, but neither is fully unconditional, right? They both have conditions that need to be met for you to take full advantage of said damage. With first bloom scaling down as the fight progresses, Overdogs requiring the right target, your preference you can make your own preference from there. All right, here's where I think first bloom becomes particularly valuable, and that's going to be in your escalations. All right, you're going to be shooting at beefed up enemies with massive health and armor pools. Those enemies take time to kill, which means that you're sitting in the high 30s, you're sitting in high 30s, that'd be insane. You're sitting in the low 30s into the high 20s of amplified damage for a meaningful window, right? Not just one shot. You're getting sustained high amp damage for the duration of the fight. And then something interesting and synergistic, if you will, happens, right? Because imagine you're shooting, you're getting all this amplified damage. Well, once you finally break that armor and the amp damage from first bloom starts to diminish, your damage to health bracket immediately kicks in to bridge that gap, right? So you're going from 9% damage to armor to 26% damage to health. By that point, obviously you're gonna have full striker stacks and full obliterate stacks ramped up. So this build actually is designed to sustain through the entire damaging window. And that's why it performs the way it does. And that's why you can get an after action report to look like the one you saw earlier. So here's the full setup. As you can see, I got me a couple of little prototype pieces, man. Shout out the new update. It was super good. Bringing targeted loot tables as well as increased loot tables to escalations was awesome. I don't have god rolls or anything like that, but it does give, the people that are not expertise 30 and can just kind of roll their own gear the opportunity to get some cool prototype gear pieces. So super appreciative, been super fun farming that kind of stuff. And it's given me the opportunity to, improve my build a little bit. So as you can see, as the mask, I'm wearing strikers with the red core. Chest is the Equalizer with Perfect Obliterate. Backpack, we're running the Strikers Risk Management Backpack. Gloves and knee pads are both striker. For the holster, I'm running the Salvo, which is the UA named piece. That's giving us the additional 5% rate of fire, which with the UA brand bonus is giving us 10% rate of fire. And if you notice, the first bloom AR is kind of similar to the capacitor, to where its base rate of fire, is just not very high, right? So getting that rate of fire makes it feel a lot better, helps us build our stacks a lot better. I also toyed with the idea of doing the Ninja Bike backpack and doing another piece to get that 50% mag size increase, right? But I didn't want the community to riot with another Ninja Bike build, so we might say that one for the next one. On the secondary, I'm running the military MK46. It's the same one from our last build, running Frenzy. It's cool in the clutch. I'll often shoot the 150 rounds from this one first, going into a room. That way I'm building up my striker stacks, leave it on empty, then switch to the first bloom. So I'm hitting with some striker stacks, yada, 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 going through stuff. And then in a pinch, or let's say, I want to get after, in a pinch, right? I get to pull out the MK46, it's reloading from empty, and then I'm getting that 35% weapon damage. So that's cool. I like to run it like that. Gunner spec gives us the weapon handling, the armor on kill, that kind of stuff. And then for my crit profile, like I said, my rolls are not good, so we're not optimized at all. I do have 54.6% crit hit chance and 65.2% crit hit damage. So there's obviously room to grow here. This build has a much higher ceiling than what I'm currently working at. And yeah, this is your standard striker, all red cores, pure DPS. No armor stacking needed. The gunner armor on kill, and frankly, the speed at which you kill, that is your survivability. So as always, if this video helped you in any way, do me a favor, like, subscribe, or leave me a comment. It actually goes a long way in helping me bring you more of the stuff that actually matters, because remember, when you're built different, you hit different.